The high school social scene often smells like cheap cologne and quieter desperation. Today's case is a brutal lesson in social currency, betrayal, and the complicated economy of forgiveness. A young man believes his moral reform should purchase reconciliation. The friend he betrayed believes some doors, once slammed, are meant to stay shut. This isn't motivation. This is an autopsy of a friendship's corpse. Jai and April had a foundational friendship. They were inseparable from a young age, the kind of bond that feels like it's forged in steel. But high school has a way of testing even the strongest connections. Their friend group expanded to include Andrew and Emma, and that's when the dynamic soured. Andrew and Emma started targeting April with racist and cruel remarks, attacking her black heritage and her appearance. In this moment, Jai faced a crisis of allegiance. Would he stand by his oldest friend, or would he protect his newfound social standing? He made his choice. To stay in with the popular crowd, he not only stood by silently, but he actively participated in the abuse, betraying the person who had trusted him most. His private apologies to April were weak and conditional, texting things like, "Sorry, but you know how it is," essentially asking her to understand his position while he was actively contributing to her pain. April saw him for what he was in that moment and labeled him correctly, a coward. The wound wasn't just the insults themselves, but the profound loneliness of being completely abandoned by someone she thought would always have her back. This wasn't just a disagreement, it was a fundamental betrayal that left a deep and lasting scar. April cut him off completely, rightfully protecting herself from his spinelessness and the group's toxicity. For a while, Jai enjoyed his place in the group. But the thing about bullies is that their cruelty is rarely contained to one target. Eventually, Andrew and Emma turned on him, too, using racist stereotypes about his South Asian background. Suddenly, Jai was the one on the outside, experiencing the same bigotry he had helped inflict on April. The shock of becoming the target was what finally opened his eyes. And here's the crucial part, the turning point for Jai wasn't some grand moral revelation. It was self-preservation. Once he became the target, he finally saw the group's true, ugly nature. His change, blocking them, cutting all ties, was born of survival, not a sudden surge of empathy for what April had gone through. He was acting out of his own pain, not a deep understanding of hers. This is where the story takes its next turn. After some time, having isolated himself from his former friends, Jai decides he's a changed man. He goes to great lengths to track down April's new phone number. He then sends her a long, detailed message. But this message isn't just a simple apology. It's a narrative that centers entirely on him. He frames his journey, his newfound enlightenment, his sacrifices. He talks about how hard it was for him to cut off Andrew and Emma, as if this social sacrifice is a down payment on her forgiveness. He truly believes that his effort, his loss, should be enough to earn back her friendship. So, when April declines his offer to reconnect, he's not just hurt, he's indignant. He doesn't see her as someone protecting her own peace and emotional safety. He sees a transaction that is being unfairly denied. He did the work, so where's his reward? This brings us to Jai's fatal error, the move that exposes his true motivations. Furious at her rejection, he sends a barrage of angry texts accusing April of hypocrisy. Why? Because April is a person of faith, a Christian, and he decides to weaponize her beliefs against her. He essentially argues that because she preaches forgiveness, she is obligated to forgive him and, more importantly, restore their friendship. He completely confuses the concept of forgiveness for absolution with forgiveness for restoration. Forgiveness can be a quiet, internal, spiritual release, something she grants for her own peace, to let go of the bitterness. It does not, under any circumstances, mandate her renewed vulnerability to the person who hurt her. Jai is not entitled to her friendship simply because he stopped being a terrible person. I'm not angry at the system, I'm disappointed in the excuses. The excuse that effort erases consequence. The excuse that someone's personal faith is a binding contract for their emotional labor. April isn't withholding forgiveness, she is exercising her right to safety. She's drawing a boundary to protect the peace she has fought hard to build for herself. Jai's accusation of hypocrisy is, in itself, a final, glaring act of entitlement. It's a demand that her theology, her personal beliefs, must serve his comfort and his need for a clean slate. So, who failed whom? The answer is clear. Jai failed April when he chose a crowd over her humanity. He failed her again when he made his apology about his own journey instead of her pain. And he failed her a final time when he tried to use her own faith as a weapon to guilt her back into his life. April is now simply choosing herself over his convenience, and she is entirely within her right to do so. His change is commendable, but it is not a get-out-of-consequences-free card. This leads us to the moral judgment we need to think about. Does true repentance require the forgiven party to reconcile, or does it simply require the wrongdoer to change, regardless of the outcome? Is forgiveness a gift to the offender, or a peace made by the wounded for themselves? Jai performed all the actions of change but completely missed the point. Making amends is about addressing the injured party's needs, not balancing the offender's personal ledger. By calling her a hypocrite, he proved that he still doesn't get it. He proved he still sees her and her faith as tools for his own benefit, not as a source of her strength. The jury is now in session. What's the verdict? Deliver it in the comments below. For more dissections of the brutal calculus of trust and the high cost of rebuilding it, make sure you subscribe to the Verdict Zone. Thanks for watching.